Hey, David, can you hear me?
I can now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I have a very old webcam with no microphone on it, so I had to dial in. Sorry
Oh,
about that.
no worries.
Oh, there you are. Amanda just sent me a text and said just give her 1 minute. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine.
What's right there in front of your face? Is that a monitor?
Well, it's I don't know what that is. Oh, it's where my cabinet's blocking my camera.
Ah,
So,
okay.
yeah, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. I'm going to prepare my little questionnaire thing.
This isn't going to require a lot of thought, is it?
Maybe.
Maybe in trouble then.
I think you can handle it.
Okay.
In fact, I'm positive you can handle it. Amanda should have the list of questions,
Okay.
and we're kind of asking everybody the same questions, so we don't have any, so it's all kind of the same for everyone. I'm having a hard time thinking of words today. So are you working remotely? Where are you, David?
I'm working remotely at the moment. I'm trying to spend time everywhere. But usually I was in the Bellevue office from Sunday to yesterday afternoon, and now I'm at home, and then I'll go back to another office tomorrow and back to Bellevue on Saturday or Sunday, and so just a little bit of everything, trying to stay afloat.
So how is your business still kind of staying consistently good as it was last time we talked?
It's okay. I mean, a lot of it depends on what the governor does and how he opens up Middle Tennessee at some point. But I had a pretty big physician's clinic in Florida call me and tell me their parent company was going bankrupt. So,
Oh man, that stinks. I actually was on a call yesterday with several chambers in the area and a representative from the mayor's office, and they gave us the draft plan for Metro reopening. And I'm going to send that out to everyone tomorrow, and there's a survey that comes along with it that we can ask you guys for feedback, and we're going to compile all that feedback in a survey for the task force that's looking at the reopening schedule.
Okay.
So when you get that, please take a few minutes just to gander at it and fill out that survey, because they're phasing it in based on data of the virus and how many days in a row they're seeing decreases. Also taking into consideration the increase in testing. So it's looking like there are 4 phases, and as long as everything keeps going the way they think it will, they'll go forward with the phases. But if the numbers start looking bad again, they have a provision in there saying, okay, well, if this happens, then we have to go back to phase 2, or if this happens, then we have to go back to phase 1. So it seems somewhat logical. Hey, Amanda. But we definitely want to get, as much feedback as we can from the business community on that.
Yeah.
Hey, Amanda, I got your, let me unmute you. There you go.
So sorry I'm late. I had trouble getting on.
Are you not
That's
doing
okay.
PPP applications yet?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Y'all.
You about to pull your hair out?
Well, so like 1,000 branch associates help process them. I'm not one of them. But so I keep getting random, they're like these tickets that come through and emails that come through from all these other managers saying, I need to get this from this person. And I'm supposed to drop whatever I'm doing to get that thing, whatever it is for that from that person. But then also people emailing me want to apply. And it's just, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's crazy. It's crazy town, and you're the mayor.
This second round is gonna run out, and people are gonna lose their ever loving mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked to a couple people that said they applied and they never got a response from their bank and never could get the application in. And then I had somebody tell me that, this morning, Kim Davis said that she was given incorrect information. So I'm glad she was on that webinar this morning.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
anyway.
yeah, I
Yeah,
talked through it, and I think it opened up for 1099 contractors and sole proprietors like a week after it went live for everybody else. So that may have been a miscommunication. I don't know, but I pointed her in the right direction.
good. Are you guys hearing me okay? Are you hearing a lot of like glitches in the audio?
I hear you okay.
Oh, this is fine.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of glitches because I'm actually called in on a number. So I'll try to be as quiet as I can unless you guys need to chime in. Amanda, do you have a list of questions?
I do.
Okay, good deal. I'm going to keep notes, and this is being recorded. We're going to record all of these interviews so that those other members of the board development committee that aren't doing interviews with these specific folks can see them all before our meeting tomorrow. David, you've met Amanda, haven't you?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I thought so. Hang on, you're muted again.
I'm muted again. Why? I
don't know. I just unmuted you. Oh, Zoom fail.
It's good. But can you hear me now?
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, David. So why are you interested in serving on the board?
Well, I think I've got, 30 years of business experience to help. Everything right now seems to be, I know Amy's had challenges, and it seems like maybe it's the right time to put my expertise to use for the chamber, and maybe help us move this through this pandemic and into a more favorable business environment, hopefully.
So what is your expertise in?
Well, I mean, I've run my own CPA firm since 1997, I guess, is when I first became a partner. And so, I've got pretty well-rounded resume in terms of helping small businesses over that period of time, and obviously, tax and valuation work and things of that nature, but try to do more of a general full circle business consulting when I work with clients, and I think that can be very useful for for the chamber and its members.
Absolutely. So I know you had mentioned the pandemic and everything. How do you feel about the current direction of the chamber? You don't hear these sirens? I'm sorry. Apparently somebody died outside my window. How do you feel about the direction of the chamber, both, before all this, now that the pandemic's going on?
Well, I think we got to think outside the box a little bit. I mean, my whole experience with chambers up until coming to the Bellevue area, I can say that I've been very impressed with everything that I've seen and been a part of. They've been very helpful for us in trying to get our firm, relocated and somewhat restarted in the Bellevue area. But I also think, just in my few conversations with Amy, I think, we got to think outside the box going forward and trying to bring programs and ideas that are useful to the members in ways we didn't think of before. And I think it's sometimes we get in a rut of doing the same thing over and over, and it might be time to sort of use this to think outside the box.
I love that, especially with everything going on. I think that's one thing that we were talking about our last meeting is, our two big revenue sources are the picnic and I guess the crawfish boil. And, they're both kind of up in the air. So you're right. Like, this is the time where we have to think out of the box if we're going to survive.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look at what you've been through, and I've been through it too, because I've probably done 100 plus of these PPP things. It would have been really, really good to sort of put a team together and handle those for chamber folks, or at least help guide them through the process. I know sometimes you got to be careful of, who not to use just one bank or one firm or whatever, but looking back and really over the next 8 weeks when the forgiveness part comes in, that's something probably to think about and maybe guide people through that process.
That's a great idea. And one thing, so have you been involved in chambers in the past? Let me back up.
Other than be on a golf committee or something, I'm telling you, I'm from West Tennessee, and as Amy knows, chambers tend to operate a little differently. The one in Weakley County, for example, has one golf tournament every year that everybody goes to, and that's it. So I'm not really used to. I mean, I've taken part in chamber events and things like that, but as far as they're just not very active, so the opportunity's been limited.
So one thing that this is the first and only chamber I've ever really been involved in. But one thing I think that sets us apart from other chambers, like either in cities or large chambers, that our staff one or one sometimes. So everything is volunteer. So that is sometimes a struggle to get the type of dedication that you would get from paid staff. So I would love to just, have, if you come on board, have you help us think through that of how to do some things like I love what you were talking about with, team together to help our members forgiveness part of the PP. Because I don't think everybody understands that. I think that they think they're getting free money. They're going to be a reawakening.
Well, I mean, I can tell you, I'm not sure I understand it. But from what I do understand, I think just about everybody's going to end up with a balance to be paid back. And certainly minimizing that during the 8-week period I've spent 2 or 3 hours on the phone today just talking about that, how we're going to make sure that balance at the end is as small as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
and
right.
I know people have to use it. They have to use it on payroll, and they have to use it on rent, and utilities, and stuff like that. And I think that's pretty clear in all of the information. But as far as documenting all that, I think that's where people are going to have the struggle: is how do I turn in information to the lender that shows that I've used this money for what it was intended.
And I know, and they haven't said yet what they're going to require to prove that. So it's nice if people could start getting that ready or start, change how they do their books now or something so they have that information, but we don't know what's going to be required.
Well, we're using a spreadsheet, a template for each week of the 8 weeks. And so we're filling it out weekly. So
Okay.
we use X amount of dollars in these categories every week, constantly subtracting from the PPP amount. So we know exactly how much we have left, what we spent it on, and, so forth and so on, which is pretty easy. But the forgiveness part with the FTEs is where I think there's a lot of work to be done and a lot of things to understand. and a lot of it we just don't have good guidance on yet.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you think is most important that the chamber does in order to best serve our mission?
Well, participation, keeping people excited and keeping people involved is by far the probably the number one goal. And sometimes we get caught up in, what's in it for us when we got to look at the total picture. So I may not get any direct benefit out of a certain event you're having, but it's for the common good of the chamber and common good of the community. And that's the hard part, is trying to keep having events that keep enough people involved and keep enough people excited about it. And it ought to be to the point where and Amy, you probably like this, but if somebody called me today and said, hey, you hadn't paid your dues, I ought to feel strongly enough about the chamber that I go ahead and write the check. Not worrying about, hey, I haven't had this or that, we're not going to have a picnic, whatever. I ought to feel strongly enough about the chamber that I write that check. And I think that's the degree of involvement and what you're looking for, in chamber members, is just trying to keep everybody excited about, I like the Bellevue community and the tightness of everybody involved. And I think that's sort of the mantra we're trying to keep. It's a big area, but we're still a small, dense community. And I've heard that from several chamber members at events, and I think that's what you sort of continue to strive for.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Engagement is a huge topic of discussion that we have on a regular basis. And part of it is how we tell our story. And we work on that consistently in our messaging. But every chamber that I know of has the same problem or the same challenge, is engaging people in what they offer so that they do have that strong feeling of commitment when it comes time to renew membership. And, that a lot of people are members and we don't ever see them and we don't ever have their participation. And a lot of people are extremely engaged, and there are a few people that are engaged here and there. And what I find interesting and a little perplexing is people that say, yeah, I'm getting your emails and I see your Facebook posts and I see all the stuff you're providing and I think it's great. But I don't know that until something comes up where we're having a conversation about it. I think there are people that feel a little bit engaged from afar, and we're always going to have that to some degree, but I think we have to continue finding ways to engage people outside of events, because industry-wide, in the chambers and association industry, I think the statistic is you're only going to have about 30 to 40% of your members that are actually engaged. So this is a time, I think you're exactly right, David, this is a time where we are not doing events. So we really need to focus on what are the positive outcomes of this pandemic for the chamber. How can we start providing valuable content and information and engagement for our members that may not include them coming to an actual event. So I think that's an opportunity that we're seeing now that we can utilize going forward, even when this is over. Anyway, just my thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Okay, David, so tell me the chamber activities you've been involved in so far, just as a participant, sponsor, and
Well, we've sponsored the Business Before Breakfast. But we've been to either 2 or 3 of those, I guess. I can't remember how many we've been. Maybe 3. So we've done that, and then of course I haven't been able to go to a picnic yet because we just started. So I guess that business before breakfast is the only thing we've really been involved in up to this point.
Have y'all been to a luncheon?
Well, we had an open house, hosted a chamber, hosted open house that a lot of folks came to, that Amy helped us with. So that was good. I have been to a luncheon because I remember the guy from, he was he was a medical guy. I can't remember his name.
Oh, the eye guy.
Yeah, the eye guy.
Dr. Wayne.
Yeah. Wayne, yeah. I was going to
Yeah,
say that,
yeah.
and I thought, surely it's not that. So,
That's it.
yeah, I did go to that, and it seems like there was another luncheon that we went to. So I think I may have been to those at Temple Hills.
Okay.
Yeah, and several of your staff have been to Women of the View events too.
Yeah, I've tried to encourage them to do. I think they've done 2 of those. So I try to encourage them because, I've got a tax manager that's been in our firm and been working in Bellevue for 10 years and never even knew the chamber existed till I took it over and sort of encouraged her to go and take part. So we're trying to get our staff, involved in the chamber as well. And they love that Women of the View.
It's a good one.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
All right, and I know when we're talking about like what skills, connections, resources, expertise you have, I know we talked about how you help small businesses for 30 years. Any other skills or connections that you think would benefit you or benefit?
Oh, all I could say is I don't really know how to answer that until something comes up and we need to get something done. And I know somebody in a certain industry that can help us get it done.
Right.
Things of that nature. But so I don't really know how to answer that.
So what was your business before your business now opened?
Well, we've been I've run a firm in West Tennessee for, like I said, I got out of school in 1991 from UT Martin and went into the accounting business in West Tennessee and bought a practice, merged a practice, and then about 2 years ago, they asked me to take over the Bellevue office. So I'm still doing both. I still have an office in West Tennessee, and I'm running an office in Bellevue as well. So I've been in public accounting for my entire career, which is almost 30 years.
Do you travel a lot then?
Yeah, I travel. I've got clients all over I got clients everywhere, from Fort Lauderdale to they're spread out all over the Southeast.
So once I'm assuming that we, go back to normal and meet face to face, would you be available for the monthly meeting and other events?
Oh yeah, that's not a problem. I got a condo there at the Sawyer, right behind the Bellevue place.
So how often are you here?
Probably at least 4 days a week. And my son is moving into the Nashville office full time, so we're gradually moving that direction.
So, Amy, help me think about the different, events that we'll be having that he'll want to be at. Would be the board meeting, and then once a month, the luncheon for business. What else? What are you forgetting?
Well, typically, we would need every board member to mark their calendar off for 2 hours for the first Wednesday of every month. And then all of our other events are typically on the third Thursday. At least that's what we've been doing in the past. So, the other things that we have are sporadic, like after hours mixers and ribbon cuttings. And of course, there's no way that we could expect every board member to attend every single thing, but the board meetings are really important. And do you think you would have capacity to mark that off on your calendar every month, David?
I won't have any trouble getting stuff marked off on the calendar as long as I've got, a little bit of lead time. Just don't call me on the morning of something and tell me I need to be somewhere in an hour. That would be tough. But
Yeah,
no,
we
as
don't
long
do
as
that.
as long as I've got, you know, a couple day lead time, I can make anything work.
Okay, awesome.
How would a board position? Oh, yeah. Okay. So how would being on the board fit into your personal professional goals?
Well, I'm an accountant by trade, so you know I sort of try to carry the torch of I'm not the pocket protector wearing, you know, typical. Um, I know this is getting recorded, so I got to pick my words carefully.
Introvert.
Introvert. That's a great word. Great word. Introverted accountant. So I try to keep myself involved in things that sort of, you know, make sure that I stay out of that realm. And so to keep expanding, you know, the horizon, so to speak. And so I think being a board member would obviously help with that, because I need to be out in the community more and not in my office all the time. And so being a board member certainly helped that, I think.
Okay. It's pretty
Let me
much
pull up your.
all my questions.
I wanted to look on your application, and I should have had it pulled up already, but I didn't. You mentioned on your application that your top 3 priorities, if you were on the board, would be to become treasurer, to be a part of the economic development team, and the member relations committee. What is your interest in economic development, and have you had any experience in that in the past?
Well, I think you're always looking to attract, you know, and I've heard this mentioned in a setting or two in chamber events, how, you know, we wanted to attract the right kind of businesses to Bellevue, not just, and I don't mean that from a, I took it to mean like we weren't interested in Amazon's, you know, 5,000 person distribution center locating in Bellevue, things like that. But I think the economic development piece comes in as, you know, if there are certain facets of small business that we need. For example, I do a guy that's got a shop that can be franchised, sort of it's a sandwich shop, for lack of a better term, but just things like that. If the chamber board said, you know, we really need X in Bellevue, well, let's go find X, you know, whatever that is, and bring them to Bellevue somehow. And that would, you know, requires working with, you know, I like the deal making part of it. You know, what can we do for you to get you here, and then how can we support you once you're here, type. So when I say economic development, it's more about driving small business and, you know, increasing the offerings that are in Bellevue, you know, to keep the folks happy there.
That's exactly all we would be really doing in our economic development committee is looking at what types of businesses need to be here. And we've been focusing real heavily on recruiting office tenants, somebody to build a small office complex here in Bellevue. And, you know, I think part of the economic development part is having someone who is really dedicated to enhancing the relationships that we have with the Nashville Chamber and ECD. And we do have that on our committee, but I think it gets lost a little bit in all of the other things everyone's doing. And I think we could be successful in that. And it's extremely interesting to me. And I think I'd like to have us focus on that a little bit more heavily as part of an ongoing strategic planning initiative. But that's, you know, so I think you're definitely on the same page as the other people on the board in terms of what that means for Bellevue, because it doesn't mean attracting a manufacturer or an Amazon. It means, you know, we need X, Y, and Z. We've got these available spaces, and how do we work with commercial realtors and the local city council folks and the Nashville Chamber and other people that are heavily involved in economic development to help push those initiatives through for us. David, I have one question I wanted to ask you. Something that we've struggled with in the past several years, and when I say we, I mean myself and our current treasurer, who's great, by the way. We have been wanting to set up a set of policies and procedures, financial policies and procedures that outline a very clear set of policies on how we manage our finances and how we deal with internal financial controls. Would that be something you'd be interested in helping us with?
Oh yeah, that would be, I could absolutely do that.
Okay.
All right, Amy, do you have anything?
No, David, do you have any questions for us?
I don't, I mean, you've touched on, the board meetings and all that. But I don't, the time requirement was the only other question I had, other than and you sort of answered that with the board meetings and the events and whatnot. But I know that, given what's happened, that maybe there are some other needs and other time requirements that may be coming down the pike for, helping collect dues, whatever. And, I didn't know what that looked like, or if you guys wanted to address that at all.
Like Amanda said, we only have two staff people, one of whom, by the way, we are actually having to lay off temporarily. So everything is going to be on me for a while. But yeah, it's always great to have help with, some operational things. But I think reaching out to our members and just helping us keep in contact with them is something that would be very helpful, which is a time commitment, but not a lot. I think if you reasonably say, you could spend 5 to 6 hours a month on board stuff. Do you think that's reasonable, Amanda? Kind of depending on what you're
Kind of
doing?
depends on the month. Obviously as a board member, you'll be involved in something, whether it's the picnic or economic development or, this committee. Like, it's always, something extra. So it kind of depends on what else you're involved in, what year it is. Obviously on the picnic, normally things ramp up. Well, actually, I guess it's all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'd be neck deep in picnic stuff right now if it was the normal time. But, some members of the board are much more involved in the picnic than others, and then some are more involved in member relations. So I think it's just finding the right fit for you, finding the right needs that we have, and matching that up with board members who have the skills and the enthusiasm for that particular part of our strategy. And sometimes it, like Amanda said, it just kind of depends on the time. And, there are lots of communications that fly around a lot. So there's more emails to read, there's more phone calls to be on, there's, it's not just the meeting every month. It's more than that. But it's not, we just have to try to find the balance that works best for everyone.
The only caveat I would say is I'm not ever going to wear a vest like Plasko does.
That's cool. We've got, we have no dress code. You just have to wear pants, except for right now.
Right now, you're probably not even wearing pants, and we don't even know.
I'm wearing leggings right now that are like, pajamas. So chest up. It's like it's the new mullet. Business on the top, party on the bottom.
You remember this is getting recorded, don't you?
I know. But you know what, David? We do have a lot of fun. We like each other, and we enjoy interacting with each other, and I think that's a very positive. So,
David, I've been on the board for Amy. How many years has it been?
5,
6, 7,
4. I
No,
don't know. It's been a while.
or 7. And I would not have done it for so long if I didn't like people. And even though people come and people go, we have a lot of fun, and it's not super serious. And it's, I mean, we may disagree sometimes, but it's fun, and I wouldn't do it if it wasn't. So.
Yeah, and Amanda's done it while having a full-time job and having babies. So if she can do it, anybody can. That's what I always.
Being president is a much higher time commitment.
Oh, I'm sure.
much
Oh,
more.
yeah. Sometimes. Yeah. All right. Well, David, the next step is that I'm going to share all of these videos and our notes with everybody else on the board development committee. And we are actually meeting tomorrow to discuss this. And we have to present. I sent you a request. You may have missed it. 10:15?
Okay.
Are you cool?
We'll talk about it.
Okay. And then the full board has to vote on it. And the next one will be May the 6th. So we should have a definite answer by May the 7th. So if between now and then, if you have any feedback or you have questions, please feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.